Welcome back to our live Rumble episode with Sarah Fraser from The Sarah Fraser Show and Rachel Yucatel from Misunderstood. You guys, we have the best show for you today. Don't you think, Sarah?
Girl, I love an astrologer. I mean, I don't know how much of it ever comes true, but who doesn't love to have their chart read? And it comes down to where, what time you were born, where the stars were placed. And I will say this, I'm excited about our guest because of all, I'm sure you have too. Over the years, I've had many psychics on. I've had many psychic readings. Sadly, I have spent thousands of dollars on psychic readings.
Exactly.
And I really became a skeptic with this psychic that was supposed to be Marilyn's number one psychic. And every time she would see me, she would have this whole new reading. I was like, bitch, you don't even remember who I was. You want my $90 and you got a whole new set of shit to tell me. So I gave up on all psychics, but astrology, at least I can get into because the stars were they were set the way that they were set when you were born. Like it makes a little more sense to me than straight up.
Well, it's funny that you say that. It makes no sense to me. I like reading those daily horoscopes, and I don't understand like the moons and the suns and the Jupiters and whatever. But Amy Tripp is here today, you guys. She is the internet's most notorious astrologer, and I'll tell you why. In 2020, she predicted that Joe Biden would drop out of the presidential race on July 21st, which is exactly what happened. So she wasn't expecting this to go viral. It did. Sometimes she can predict things. Anyone can predict things and not really know if they're true. She did predict it. And then in 2022, she predicted that Donald Trump would be in the election. That he would win the election before he even got in the presidential race. So Amy Tripp is here. She is going to read the birth charts of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. She's going to talk about their birth charts for both the debate and for the election. And she's going to predict live on the air who she thinks, based on the charts, will win. So I'm really excited for this. Speaking of Amy Tripp, let's bring her in. Hi, Amy. Welcome to our shows.
Hey, Rachel. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us. So before we start, I just want to let people know for, just very briefly who you are, how you got into this, and what astrology is. Sometimes I think people get confused about, what a clairvoyant is versus what an astrologist is. Just give us a little background.
So I got into astrology by accident, really. I was going to get a reading, but I was a skeptic. So I was like, maybe I can teach myself this because I majored in psychology and I was really interested in human behavior and their motivations. So I thought maybe I could start learning it. And then day by day, I learned more and more and more to the point where I was able to observe things happening, like events, things like that, timing of events. And so I realized it was real. And once I realized it was real because I was seeing it happen over and over again, I was all in to studying astrology. And I started a Twitter account just to kind of share my knowledge with other people because I thought it was really important that other people know about this. So, but I never expected it to turn into a business like it has now and me doing consultations. But astrology is basically how the position of the planets were at the time of your birth influences various aspects of your life. So astrology can help you learn more about your personality, challenges and strengths you have, compatibility in your relationships, timing and life events, which is a lot of what I do. Life purpose, spiritual growth, and a lot of times astrology is used to understand past experiences, going back in time to see where the planets are, to see maybe why events transpired the way they did. So you can use astrology for a lot of ways. But yeah, that's how I started, and that's a kind of a basic definition of astrology.
So you went viral recently because of what your prediction with Joe Biden stepping down. Can you tell us a little bit about how that even happened? I know it kind of came as a surprise to even you.
Yeah, so apparently I just was thinking that on the full moon, because that's a time of revelations, peaks and energy, that if he was going to step down, it would be during the full moon. Because like I said, that's when things are revealed. and the moon was in Capricorn at the last degree, and the Capricorn shows old age. And so I was thinking, and the 29th degree shows completion. And so I was thinking, well, if he's going to retire, it will be then. And then someone asked me, well, when is the full moon? And I just replied July 21st.
Wow.
So that's how that went about. And then in 2020, I predicted Kamala would be the Democratic nominee. And I'd actually forgotten about that tweet. Somebody dug it up for me and put it out, thankfully.
Wow. Amazing. All right. So Sarah, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Amy, what about Kamala's chart a couple of years ago indicated to you that she would be the Democratic nominee? Was there something in her chart? And maybe you can tell us what her sign is.
Yes, so she had her Saturn return, which is a time of gaining significant achievements, and there are maybe milestones in your life. It happens at 29, 30, and then again at 60. So that's a very important time for her. And her Saturn is conjunct, which means right on her career angle. So that would show her Saturn return would be directly impacting her career and public standing. And Kamala is a Libra sun. She has an Aries moon, and she's a Gemini rising.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's get right into some of these things that are going to happen in the future. On September 10th, there's going to be a debate. I want to know, can we start with Donald Trump's chart for that night, and then Kamala's, and let's see. I want to get a prediction from you on who you think is going to have a better night during the debate.
Okay, well, I will say I think it's going to be a close call. I think they're both going to do pretty well. Donald Trump has Mercury, the planet of communication, writing, speaking, moving through his first house, which should show a quick mind. He has his Mars, which is the planet of action and aggression, on his Mercury. So that could show maybe a greater tendency for arguments or hastiness with speaking. He also has Mercury conjunct his ascendant, which is an important angle in your chart, which would show quick thinking again. So basically, his chart shows quick thinking, being clever, that sort of thing, having a strong need to communicate. Kamala's chart also shows she has also strong Mercury aspects to her moon and Mars. So she will be very assertive, but without coming off too aggressively, because it's a trine aspect, which shows ease. And then she has Mercury trine moon, which would allow her to really establish rapport with the public, able to speak how she feels genuinely. So I think that is very positive for her. And she also has her sun, which is the sun transiting conjunct her Venus, which can show someone who's very popular, seen as kind and charming and beautiful. So that's typically a fortunate aspect. But for the debate, I would look at Mercury, since that's the planet of communication. And both Kamala and Trump have Mercury aspects that are pretty good for debates. So I would say it's kind of a toss-up.
If you had to predict one who's going to do better, do you have can you make a prediction like that?
Yeah, I would think Trump will do better, or he will win the debate.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I could be wrong about that, but I just feel like he is going to be more aggressive, so maybe that works against him, but his mind is going to be sharp, and he's going to be able to think well on his feet.